Very good. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the May Clubs Forum. We are going to be talking about eSIMs and particularly travelling. And hopefully today you're going to be able to walk away with a little bit more knowledge of eSIMs, etc. So firstly, I would like to acknowledge that I'm coming to you from the Wurundjeri Nation of the, Wurundjeri country of the Noongar Nation over in Western Australia. So I would like to acknowledge that Wurundjeri people have been passing on knowledge on this country for many, many millennia before us, and I hope that we're going to continue and honour that tradition today with passing on some stuff that I know. So here we go. Like I said, I would like you all to turn your cameras on if you can, and feel free to jump in. We will be muting if there's background noise, etc. So just check whether your mute is on or not, and then feel free to just jump in. So, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about eSIMs today. I have had a chat with one of our other participants who wanted to have a say, but he's actually travelling at the moment. So he and I had a catch up a few weeks back before he went away. So I'll play the recording of that conversation that we had. It's always nice to be able to have people that have used these things as a bit of a show and tell. So it was nice of Stephen to offer that. So today talking about eSIMs, just a quick show of hands, either hands up for us to have so that I can see on screen, or if you want to use your reactions, please feel free to use those. Who has heard of an eSIM before? Yeah, everyone. Okay, who is using an eSIM? Yeah, Deborah, me, yeah, Raina, very good. So are you using those locally? You're using them now? Like for Telstra, Optus or Vodafone? Yep. Anyone likely to use them overseas rather than locally?
I used mine on my trip to England and Ireland, and it worked really well.
Oh, that's good. Excellent. And so we're going to talk about a few of the options for those, and we will have a look and see what options there might be. Now, so an eSIM is an electronic or embedded SIM. So it's not an actual physical card. It's something that is digitally available to you. For example, you can see some pictures there. I've got a Telstra eSIM here. That's how they come if you go and pick them up. So when you open it up, you can see in there's a little QR code and some instructions. You do need to be connected to Wi-Fi to be able to access those. Sometimes you can download them directly from your provider. Oh, there's lots of people trying to get back in. So if you who's seen one of these old hard SIMs? So this is your traditional SIM, comes in a little credit card and you pop out the relevant size, etc. And you'll usually need, I'll put this one up, you usually need one of these little tools to get into your phone, and you'll slip out the slide tray like you can see in this shot here. I had a good fun session taking photographs of all my bits and bobs to show you what I've got. So the benefits of an eSIM is that it's always in your device. You can't lose it, I suppose, unless you lose your phone. So I personally have got, I'm going to stop the share. So you can see plastic card, need a tool to open, inserts into the handset manually. You can lose it because they are very tiny. So this is the little eSIM, just the hard SIM. It's absolutely tiny. So they can be a little bit challenging to get into the trays, etc. Whereas the eSIM, it's built in, it can be downloaded depending on the provider. You don't need to fiddle around with little trays and making sure it's up the right way, etc. And I don't know about you, but it's getting increasingly difficult for me to see what I'm putting, how to put it in, because there's that little, you can see that there's the little cut off bit on the corner. You've got to make sure that that's in the right way and all of those sorts of things. So they can be quite fiddly. If you drop it and you can't find it, or it can be damaged, etc., it's not the best. So it's quite often easier to have an eSIM. I personally have my Telstra as my main provider. I have got an eSIM for my Telstra account, and then when I'm traveling, if I have trouble, I can go and buy a hard SIM if I can't download an eSIM whilst I'm traveling. And that way, what I was going to talk about is, why would you have an eSIM? So eSIMs are great because if when you are traveling, you don't have to pay the roaming fees on your Australian provider. Who uses an eSIM when they're traveling already, or another SIM? It's quick show of hands, yeah. Yeah. And I'm happy for you to jump in and share which ones you use, because I've done a bit of research. Personally, I have used the telcos in the countries that I'm traveling to, and I find I just buy a prepaid SIM from them, and you pick it up. Sometimes they've got a little stand at the airport. As you come in, you pick up the QR code from their stand because you pre-order and it's ready, etc. And it was super, super easy. There are, however, eSIM companies now, and there's a plethora of them. I've done a bit of, so Alison says she's used, is that Airlo? AIRILO? Yep, Airlo. So that's one that Stephen was talking about. So I've used Spark in New Zealand using their SIM card, or their eSIM. And I've used T-Mobile in America, and I have used a hard SIM in Indonesia because that was proving quite challenging getting that on there. So Donette has used a MaySIM. Is that in Australia or overseas? Airolo, yeah. Ken's used Airolo as well. Please feel free to jump in and chat. I don't like just talking at the screen. I'm more than happy for you to take your mics off mute and jump in. So I like this to be a conversation rather than a sit and talk at everyone. So Ken, you've got your mic on?
Yeah, I've got it on.
Yep, very good, excellent. Have you used one of these big company eSIMs? Yep. Okay.
I did a cruise from Arctic to Antarctic and visited a number of countries. So I think I picked up a global one that I could use. Really
perfect.
Handy.
And that is the best thing about getting one of these travel SIMs, is that if you're going to multiple countries, you're not having to swap. So if you're going to New Zealand, use Spark while you're there, happy days, no problems. But if you're going to more than one country, like if you're going to Europe, when we did America, we were concerned about whether when we went into Canada, we'd need another one, but T-Mobile had it was similar costings to use their SIM card over in Canada as well. So that was really useful. So why would you use the eSIM? You would use it to avoid your roaming fees on your Australian network. You would use it to keep your Australian number active, which is very handy if you need to get codes for online banking, etc. One of the security things is that you would not do your banking on public Wi-Fi. So having a SIM on the local network means that you don't have to then go and join public Wi-Fi if you need to do banking and things like that. So it is a bit more secure. So David, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, just so Danette mentioned a MaySIM. Yeah, I have. So a MaySIM's Australian provider.
Yep.
I have an MaySIM card. They have a really cheap roaming plan. It's like $25.
Oh,
and
that's
so I've used that overseas, and it's fantastic because it's your phone. It's your phone number. You can do all your texting and stuff. And so yeah, very good. Very good value.
Excellent. So do you get charged a daily rate for your data over there?
No, it's a $25 one-off charge, and then it lasts for up to 12 months, and there's a limit to number of calls and the amount of data you can use.
Oh, excellent. Well, that's
And
good to know.
if you use a lot, you can spend more and get more. But I found $25 did my whole trip. So
Yeah, excellent. And that's the thing. You can access the data roaming on Telstra or Optus or anything. And what happens is they just jump onto the network of the country that you're in. But I think Telstra's is a $10 a day charge, and it's capped. And if you go over a certain amount, then you get charged international data fees, which can be quite exorbitant. So it's always best to have the dual SIM and be able to have local data. So the conversation I had with Stephen, I might just play that because he had some great information on that. So just bear with me while I share that conversation. You will have to have me on the screen twice, unfortunately, but yeah, here we go.
So I've travelled frequently over the past 40 years, and it's always been an issue to have a data connection and some way of being contacted when you're in another country. I previously had a dual physical SIM phone that was quite handy, but it had its limitations, and now I'm finding that eSIMs hold some significant advantages, and they include they're a lot less expensive than having roaming attached to your usual number. From the installation, you install at home, activate when the plane lands, a couple of settings, and you've got a data connection by the time you get to immigration. So using it to be contacted, arrange transport, Uber or Didi or whatever, is a whole lot easier when you've got a data connection from pretty much the time you land. There's not the security risks of handing your phone or passport to someone to insert a physical SIM or to make changes, and it really is quite inexpensive. Most modern phones are eSIM capable. The setup time is the first time it might have taken me 10 minutes because there's all those anxieties about am I doing it right. Now it's really it's a 2 to 3 minute job. I've become familiar with it, and I just love landing, adjusting the phone, and having a data connection by the time I make immigration. So that would be. If you're traveling across multiple countries, then there are eSIMs now that will cover whole regions. One I used recently covered me for Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, and Thailand. One eSIM that just automatically updates when you get to the next country. That's very convenient. And being contactable, if you're used to using WhatsApp or Messenger, or you have travel apps, not having a phone number doesn't necessarily pose a great inconvenience. China's got the Great Firewall, but an eSIM will allow your phone to work pretty much as it does in Australia. So I can use Facebook and WhatsApp and Messenger and all the Google apps without any issues using an eSIM in China. Otherwise, you need a VPN to bypass if you want to use WhatsApp, for example, or Facebook Messenger. They're sort of all blocked. So it holds some significant advantages there.
Yeah. Even Gmail addresses, if you're traveling to somewhere like China and you have a Gmail address to receive all your tickets and things, you aren't going to be able to receive them if you're using their Wi-Fi because it's blocked. Google's blocked.
So I've had a couple of trips to China last year. I went twice, and both times eSIM didn't have any issues. Gmail worked, Facebook worked, everything was. My other half uses TikTok and Instagram, which I don't really bother with. I think
TikTok and so forth. So.
Yeah. So, but that's one of the questions that comes up frequently on the China travel Facebook groups is, do I need a VPN or an eSIM? And my experience with an eSIM is that there's no need for a VPN. I didn't use any Wi-Fi whatsoever. So I'd buy a bigger
Yeah.
data package than I might normally,
Yes.
and pause backing up photos or downloading apps, updates, those type of things. But
Mm.
you know, in
Yeah.
terms of accessing all the Google stuff, works
Yeah.
perfectly. Alipay,
All that.
WeChat, all that stuff works well as phones just working like it does at home.
So Stephen and I had a good chat about some of the things that he uses and the reasons, and the benefits are the fact that if you're traveling and you've got and you've got multiple countries that you're going to, it's really useful. And as we mentioned before, if you're receiving codes for banking and multi-factor authentication to your Australian number, you don't have to make sure that you flip between devices, etc. The first time when we went to the US, that was it. We didn't have eSIM capability, so we had to take the Australian SIM out and put the new one in, and so forth. And so eSIMs are very much a much more user-friendly option, I think. So does anyone have any concerns about eSIMs? No? Yeah. And like Stephen indicated, sorry, yep.
Natika, just a question. So when you get to the country and you start using your eSIM, you switch off data roaming for your regular number, your regular provider, but then
Yes.
do you get charged if you're still receiving sort of messages or text with, say, authorization codes? Do you get charged by your local provider for roaming then?
I'm pretty certain you don't with text messages, but with phone calls, yes, you do. Okay. So you get charged an international rate for receiving a phone call. So that's where you would switch on to things like WhatsApp, or if you use an iPhone, you can do FaceTime audio calls, etc. And that uses data rather than the actual service, like the phone service, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's always I think WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, that does a lot of you can call on that as well these days. So using something like that to call your family and friends is always a great way. And if you're using iPhone to iPhone, you know how you can see the text messages, sometimes they're blue, sometimes they're green. So if they're green, it means that you're using the SMS capabilities, whereas if they're blue in the thread, that means that you're using data. So that's actually not using the phone service, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah. So it's very, very handy when you're making bookings and everything, and you're booking on to using your Australian details, because you don't necessarily have the number for your overseas account until you get there, sort of thing. So one of the tips that we've got are that if you haven't used eSIMs before, maybe practice with one here. Go and sign up for a 7-day trial with Optus or with Telstra, etc. Go and buy a prepaid eSIM and just practice here and see if that works. We had a few dramas in Indonesia last year, and the eSIM didn't work with the telecom cell that we were using. So basically we just used a hard SIM, and that was okay because my actual Telstra number is an eSIM. So we could still have both in there. So yeah. So do you know if your phone has an eSIM? How do you know? You can check your device is eSIM capable by clicking, so by typing in the phone *#06# again, and then that will show you an EID number. And if it shows an EID number, then you're pretty right to put an eSIM in. If it doesn't show you an EID number, then you're pretty much not you're not able to use an eSIM. So the other thing to check is your phone unlocked from your network? So if you've bought a device on a plan, then it may well be locked to that provider. So the easiest way to check that is to pop another SIM in there, go and buy a $2 SIM from Telstra or Optus or whatever and pop that in and see if that works. And if it doesn't, then, you know, you're probably pretty right to suggest that it's locked to that provider that you bought the handset on. The other way that you can check is by contacting your provider and just asking them if your device is locked to their network or not. So yeah. Then if the phone, so on the test one, if it connects or normally, then you're fine. If it can make calls, etc., you know you're right. Sometimes you can check in your phone settings. So on an iPhone, if you go to settings, general and about, you can look for something that says carrier lock or network provider lock, or it might say no SIM restrictions. You can also check if it takes an eSIM in your iPhone by doing that as well. So checking, and it will say add an eSIM in there. So on an Android, it varies between brands. So you could have a look at settings, connections, then mobile networks, or settings, about phone and status. Some phones may show network locked or SIM locked or unlocked status information on there. So I haven't tested that one. I do have an Android device on me that I've punched in I've gone to the settings today and I've seen it, and there's definitely no eSIM capability, but it does have a dual hard SIM tray in it. So that's the alternative, is that you can have 2 hard SIMs in there and have 2 separate numbers. So some top tips before you travel: set one up if you can, because a lot of these traveling versions have you can order them before you go. That would be the best option. And one of the things that Stephen said in his conversation with me was that you can check whether the activation starts the minute that you receive it or once you activate it. So maybe activate it a day or 2 before your travel. Make sure that you've got enough time on there. So if you're going for a month and you've only got a 28-day SIM, I would recommend doing that, because you're probably going to run out of data at the end of the trip. So, but make sure that you've got one that lasts the length of your trip, and maybe try and set it up at home on your Wi-Fi and just check to see. And then if you're having any dramas, you've got a day or 2's grace to get that all sorted out. Or you could wait till you get to the airport and pick it up from there and see how you go. But like Stephen said, if you are not sure about handing your phone over for someone to help you in a foreign country, then it's better to try and do that at home when you go. So that brings us to a bunch of the overseas, like the multi-country SIMs. I did a bit of research on this, and I'm going to show you some options here. A few of you have already said that you use Airolo. The Airlo. Just move that out of the way. So I have got a sheet with all of these links on it for you if anyone wants them afterwards. These are kind of like little marketplaces, I suppose, for all sorts of different bits and pieces, but particularly the eSIMs. So I did find a comparison site here. So this is esimdb.com, whether you wanted to have a look at that, and you can go in and punch in where you're going and have a look if it's best for single or multi. There are a lot of options there for you. However, you could also go, if you're just going to one country, so the US or New Zealand, I've done on there. There are monthly plans or there are prepaid SIMs. So there's a US Path eSIM. New Zealand have on their Spark network, they have travel packs. So it gives you 90 days. You can buy 2 gig or 10 gig or 50 gig or even 120 if you're going to be a super heavy user. So there are a couple of different options for you to use, whether you go for one of these big companies like Airolo, etc., or whether you stick to a local network. So Has anyone got any other of the multi eSIMs, like the specifically for travel SIMs that they've used that they can attest to? Deborah, did you say you used one recently?
I used one year before last when I went overseas to England and Ireland, and I confess I can't remember which one I used. I just did a search and picked one that looked good. And it was a little challenging to set up at the beginning. I think that tip about try setting it up before you leave so that you're not stressed and panicking when you get to the other end is a good tip.
Yeah, that's it. When I did a bit of like a ChatGPT deep dive on these things, they came up with so many options. So this has become a big marketplace, I suppose, for all these sorts of things these days. So Airolo is there. They are saying that it's best for beginners. It's got wide global coverage, multi-country travel. Apparently, it's very easy to use. Some people in the group have said that they've used this one, so you can tell me if that's right or wrong. That it has great, strong European and Asian coverage, popular with casual travellers, does support New Zealand, US, Europe, and most of Southeast Asia. Usually it's data only. One thing that Stephen mentioned to me in our conversation was make sure that whichever one you purchase allows hotspotting. Do you know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about hotspotting? Yeah. So if there's two of you traveling, you don't necessarily need to both have one of these SIM plans, so you can halve your cost really. But if you can't hotspot, then you might both need to have one. So hotspotting just means that you can share that with your iPad and with your phone and your partner's phone if you're traveling with more than one of you. So Rollo came up, there was one called Nomad eSIM that has reliable coverage, frequent travellers. Now this is all ChatGPT telling me this, so I haven't verified with this eSIM at all. It does support hotspotting on many plans, apparently competitively priced. Tech Radar recently rated Nomad highly for reliability and ease of use, apparently. There's another one called Holafly, Holafly. That's great for heavy data use, apparently. I can share this as a PDF with you all if you'd like to have the rundown that we've been given. It has good Asian and European offerings. It can be more expensive than some other competitors, and fair usage policies may apply. Just make sure that you do your research and maybe a bit of social comparison would be useful in this. So, yes, David, yep.
Sally from our club, Sally Norton from our club is travelling at the moment, and she sent us a little note saying that she's now travelling and using two eSIMs. So far, so good with my Boost regular eSIM for phone and text, and Airolo eSIM for unlimited data.
Right.
And then one of our other tutors, Jörg, he said he's used Saily, Saily, for Europe and North America. And his wife uses as a Telstra prepaid option. And I noticed that there are some, you can use a Telstra prepaid overseas, and they have some quite low priced plans if you're not a heavy user.
Okay. Well, that's good to know too.
Oh, and I think Odd may be on the call, and I think Odd has used Airolo as well.
Excellent. Yeah, so Saily I've got in this list. It's great for apparently security conscious travellers. It's backed by the company behind NordVPN, so that's really good to know if security is a big concern for you. It includes extra security and privacy features. It's got good coverage across Europe, Asia, and North America. It's got a nice, clean, simple app, apparently. It is a data-only service with a strong focus on the privacy. So I'm not too sure about whether you can do the data share on that, the hotspotting. So that would be worth checking on Saily. So, yeah. Anne, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I've used a roller, and what I did was before it freaked me out a little bit, wondering how I switched everything on or off. But I actually sat down at home with a YouTube on in my TV, and there are a couple of YouTube things, and actually just went through it step by step. And it seems that once you've downloaded it once, next time it's a lot simpler.
Yes.
So yeah, it just was helpful in my own environment, and it only activates when you put on data roaming for your particular eSIM and when you actually get to the country that you've selected. So yeah, it was just much simpler to do it a couple of weeks in advance, at home and with no stress to actually get it set up.
Yeah. That's it. And most of them run off apps as well. So the fact that if something happens to your device, you need to get another device while you're overseas, etc. So making sure that you know your passwords to get back into your Google account or your Apple account when you're overseas is really important. So making sure that you've got that and making sure that you've backed up to your iCloud or your Google Cloud so that if you do lose your device, all you need to do is remember those two details. I don't know how you'd go getting your Australian SIM back on, but maybe adding your international number into those account recovery options before you go is something worth considering as well, just for the temporary while you're out of, because you'll need to get your codes, etc. So making sure that you've got access to all the important data before you go by remembering your password and having those multi-factor options turned on is a great tip, I think, because if I lost my phone while I was away, I have my Telstra number is an eSIM, so that would be concerning as to how I would get that back onto my device while I'm overseas, because they haven't been very good at sending that in an email, etc. However, with Optus, if I was to sign in and download the Optus app, then I can get that, I can download that eSIM back onto my device. One of the things to check with your travel ones is it able to be downloaded more than once on that device or on more than just your device? I know that with these Telstra QR codes, once they've been used, they're no good, whether it's the same number or not. So I kept my first one that I got thinking, oh, well, if I update my handset, I'll just use that again. But it doesn't work like that for the Telstra one. So I'm assuming it's the same for overseas ones as well, that it doesn't, it's good for a single scan and that's it. If anyone's got any other information on that, do let us know. We've got a whole bunch of options there that ChatGPT's thrown up at me, some that I've heard of, some that I hadn't. One that Stephen mentioned to me the other week was Klook. So has anyone else heard of Klook? Klook. That's supposed to be quite a good one as well. It usually doesn't own, and a lot of these travel SIMs, often they don't run the network themselves. So they are just a provider that's reselling space on those other networks when you're traveling. Whereas if you're with someone like Telstra or Optus, they're the ones who manage the infrastructure in Australia, as well as when you're going overseas, they're just using someone else's infrastructure, obviously. The eSIMs are, or the travel SIMs in particular, are using those, they're renting space, I suppose you'd say, off other infrastructure, etc. If you have never used an eSIM before, I've got some links in there for setting up on iPhone, on Galaxy and Google Pixels, so that if you get stuck, you can go straight to your manufacturer and get the details from them. Another tip would be to maybe check your data usage before you travel, just to see, to give you an idea of how much you might need, so that you're not buying more than you need and you're not sort of having to buy another data pack 2 days before you leave because you've used up all of what you've got. Another hint is always to download your maps before you go so that you've got those there just in case. That's about it from me.
I think that the clubs forums are a really good thing, particularly for people who aren't near enough to an existing computer club to to actually join a physical club. And I was wondering whether people would be interested in having a second club forum, alternate fortnights from this one, and I could run that for you. I'm a trainer with Computer Powers for Seniors, the Hills, and I do something similar face-to-face with my mob, so I'd feel comfortable doing that if I thought enough people were interested. So my questions are, would you be interested in doing it fortnightly instead of monthly with me? Would you like it to be the same time, Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Sydney time, or whatever it is in your place, so that it's easier to remember? And I was wondering whether instead of doing a very specific topic like eSIMS, I might just say, this month we're doing Android devices, bring your Android questions along and we'll try and answer them. So any feedback about that anybody would like to share with me?
I think it'd be a good idea to do that, Deborah.
Okay. Barry, would you prefer a specific topic or just a Q&A session?
Well, a Q&A to start with, and then you could feel out the people who come in to see what you're producing. But if you're doing it in the alternate week to what Natika's doing now, I like the idea that it's going to be available to new clubs coming online, and offering them some online training, which their tutors or trainers might not have the experience of. So I think that's a good idea.
All right, good. Thank you for that. Anybody else who'd like to comment?
Yes, I'm not in the club either, so I feel a bit out of it, but I have been to a couple of the conferences which have been really good in the past. So I think a Q&A would sort of generate some topics to talk about later on as well.
Yeah, certainly when I do Q&A with my own club, we don't run out of things to talk about. We go for about 2 hours, and
That's right.
And then what I do is write up all the questions and answers afterwards and make those available so people don't have to frantically scribble down everything we talked about. Okay, well, that sounds promising. Anybody got any views about whether you want to stick with Wednesdays at 11 Sydney time, or I guess all of you are here because that time suits you, but I'm thinking there might be other people who can't make Wednesday mornings because they've got other commitments, so maybe I should vary it.
Well, Wednesdays are good for me, but I can't speak for other people.
Okay.
Anybody
else got a thought?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
When we have Q&A in the Hills at our general meeting, we always run to the point where we're absolutely thrown out of the room. So I don't think you can have too much Q&A training and education. Anything to do with improving the technology and the confidence of our seniors is a good thing to do.
Thank you, Ralph. Ralph is actually my club's president, so I appreciate his input. Okay, well, that gives me some positive feedback. Yeah. All right, this will probably start in July. We will advertise it to everybody who registers for Club Forum and to all our ASCCA newsletter subscribers and to all our clubs. So we'll try it out and see how it goes. And if nobody wants to do it, then we'll stop. And if it's popular, we'll keep going. Next month for the forum that I'm delivering, we're talking about government digital IDs. So if you've got anyone who is having a few issues or whatever, or we're just going to try and explain what it is and how it works and so forth. So that'll be on, I think we're the 24th of June at 11 a.m. Sydney time. Then July I've put digital health and wellbeing apps. And then in August I've put creating GIFs in Canva. So a little bit of challenging stuff and a little bit of fun stuff. So yeah, and then that's it from me. August will be the last one, I think. So yeah. Peace. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
No worries. Bye.
Bye.